Hi, it's Heather. I am back with another process video, and this one is of a card. I don't normally post videos about cards, although I do make them often. However, I posted this card on social media and got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of requests for a process video to show how it was done. So I started out with putting my piece of white cardstock in my MISTI so I can stamp the sentiment. And the first card that I created actually had "I adore you" from an Altenew stamp set, and this one I changed it up to a "thank you" sentiment from the same stamp set from Altenew. The first card I actually gave to my husband for Valentine's Day, so I decided to change it to a thank you card because I don't give out that many cards that say "I adore you," and I usually try not to repeat the same card. So it's still the same in every other design aspect. So I started out with stamping the sentiment with some VersaFine black ink, and now I am covering it with some clear sparkly embossing powder. And I started with this step because I am always a little nervous about stamping, especially with black. So I wanted to do this first before I die cut anything or add the stick it paper to the back. So I will be cutting the heart out of this top panel as well as some fun foam to create the shaker pockets. So that's the fun foam that I'm using, and I also attached stick it paper to the back of this, and I don't use the adhesive back fun foam for this, although I use it on most of my projects, but it's a little bit thicker and it doesn't cut as well. So I'd rather use regular fun foam and then attach the stick of paper to that. So right now you see that I am just trying to determine where the stick of paper should go. And you see that there's a line drawn on the back of that die. And the reason why I did that is because the hearts are different sizes and shapes, and it's hard to determine the center line, which I needed to determine because I needed to cut it out of the same place, obviously, of my top panel and the piece of fun foam. I cut a piece of fun foam to about the same size as my top panel. The width of it is almost identical because, as you can see, this die is almost the width of a 5.5 inch panel card. So I am carefully trying to pull it out, and you see some of the sticky paper came off, but it's not a problem. You will be using that outline. I don't use any of the center hearts for this card, but I will keep them for another card. So now I am cutting it out of the fun foam, and I am using the negative and the positive. The die cut actually cuts out an outline, which you need to create the separate sections for the shaker card. So I applied the stick it paper to the back of this because it is extremely difficult to glue down a flimsy piece of fun foam. It's if you've ever tried to do it. So I am carefully trying to put down the negative part of the die that's created, and that's the top panel. And the outlines that are cut, you need both of them because otherwise the elements that you put in for your shaker card will all mix together. So right now you see me using my tweezers just to carefully set in the outline that was created when I cut the fun foam. And this die that I'm using is called Parade of Hearts or Heart Parade. It's a Simon Says Stamp exclusive. And I am using some little silver and gold hearts from Pretty Pink Posh, some other glitter and elements from my stash. And it took me quite a bit of time to add these in. You have to be careful because there's nothing really that's exposed that's sticky, but with stick it paper and adhesive, there are some that are like it's remnants, it's left behind. And so I used my little spoon to carefully place everything in, and then I used my tool here, my pokey tool. I'm sure there's a proper name for that, but I don't know what it is. To spread everything around. I don't make you watch me put all of them in, but I finished putting a different type of glitter or confetti type element in each one of those hearts. And once I am done with that, you're going to add a piece of acetate. It could be from packaging, or if you've purchased sheets of acetate, doesn't really matter. And once that is added down, you can glue down the top panel of your card. And then I added, after that, the outline that was cut from the die when I cut the white cardstock. I add that as well. So from a finished card, you can see that there's a seam there, but I think it finishes it off nice. You don't really see the foam because that paper or the cardstock die is covering it up. So I am just making sure everything's lined up. So there is the finished card. I finished it off with some sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. This is the die that I used to create this card. I also included a couple of shots of other dies that Simon Says Stamp offers that you could also do this kind of technique with. I really hope you enjoyed this and you're inspired to make your own heart shaker card for who knows, someone special in your life. I really appreciate the support and you stopping by. Have a great day.